older brother.
So some people only have rivalries with their true siblings. Imagine a rivalry that extends across the street.
Michael. Okay. 10 years ago, at the celebration of your 60th birthday, I wrote a few lines about our growing up together in Toledo and titled them, My Brother Mike. I just reread them, and on reflection, can't think of a better description of what it was like to have you to look up to, learn from, argue with, and occasionally beat up.
That's possible.
I'm sorry I can't be with you in Detroit tonight to celebrate this momentous occasion, but fortunately, now that you are in your golden years, you probably don't remember anything I said at that otherwise memorable evening in Florida 10 years ago. We were almost thrown out of the restaurant.
The loudest group I've ever.
So at the risk of boring everyone, I'm going to repeat a few of those lines which still ring true today. Some of this might surprise friends and family who know you as a soft-spoken gentleman, one who rarely raises his voice and defers to others in expressing opinions. But you weren't always like that. In fact, I remember a different Mike whose encyclopedic knowledge of sports trivia was mind-boggling. You knew everything about the Tigers and made sure everyone else reaped the benefits. I can remember our trips to Briggs Stadium with Uncle Lou, when you would hold court on what was wrong with Paul Foytak?
Yeah.
And what was wrong with Al Kaline and Charlie Maxwell? And what was right with Al Kaline?
He has a
Sorry.
memory that's unreal.
Because of you, I had no choice and became a long-suffering Tigers fan, something that prepared me well for season after season of futility in rooting for the Dodgers. Of course, in that process of indoctrination, I couldn't get a word in edgewise when discussing our team, or anything else for that matter. But I learned who was who and could later hold my own arguments with those friends of mine foolish enough to root for the Indians. I also remember our pit stops on the way home and being awed by your prodigious appetite. I still am. And then there was your athletic prowess.
Yeah.
What are you laughing about, man?
Yeah.
Because you didn't just talk a good game, you actually tried to play one. In fact, I can never remember you backing down from a challenge. In football, played in your front yard or ours, you wanted to carry the ball. We lived in not so PC times then, but when Dixon called you crazy legs, you took it as a compliment and tried to emulate Leroy Hirsch. You might have been easy to catch and tackle, but you never gave in. On the basketball court, you had a decent shot in horse, and on rare occasions, you actually beat me.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't either, but okay. Of course, I would take it out on you when we actually played games, either with Chuck or Dean, or just one-on-one. You had to develop a pretty good flop since I made sure to secure hard contact on virtually every drive to the basket. You might have spent a lot of time on the ground, but you never quit.
He's 6 inches taller than me.
At least. And then there was your unrivaled skill as a baseball player. At your last big party, I told the story of how you became the hero of the baseball world at Camp Conestoga when our teams played against each other in a big camp rivalry. I had recently made it onto the all-star team as catcher, and on the mound was the best pitcher at camp, Bob Riskin.
God, what a memory.
Bob was tall and lanky and threw his fastball so hard I had to wear a sponge in my mitt to keep my hand from blistering. It was a tight game, and your team was up in the last of the ninth, or whatever the last inning was in those days. Somehow your side tied it up, and Bob had the bases loaded with 2 out.
That's right.
But we weren't worried. We had our best hitters coming up on what would be the extra inning, and with no one left on the bench, your coach had no choice but to let you take your turn at bat. You hadn't hit the ball all day, and probably hadn't reached base all season. But all Bob had to do was put it over and let you swing away. And then a miracle happened. For the first time in your distinguished career, you actually listened to your coach's advice. Bob wound up, hurled one toward the plate, and your bat didn't move. Your steely glare actually rattled him, and when you resumed your best stance, we were all stunned as you calmly watched pitch after pitch go by. When you took ball 4 to force home the winning run, you were swarmed by your gleeful You left the field in disbelief.
That's a nice story, but it's inaccurate.
Really?
Change it. I
Yeah,
like it this
he
way.
hit me.
Take your base.
Yeah, that's what happened.
I might have been.
Your story's way better.
Well, Bob, risk
It
it.
wasn't
What's
4
happening
bad
that
balls, he
night?
hit me.
Well, all
I
right.
couldn't even
Charles,
see the ball.
Charles is probably trying not to get sued. So.
And
I
Bob,
might-
and Bob Riskin
Right.
probably never played baseball again.
Right. I might have been pissed on the outside, but deep down I was happy to see you have your day. Now, all wasn't rosy between us. Like any brothers, we had our moments, and you certainly knew how to get under my skin. I'm sure that must come as a surprise to many of your admirers here tonight. But they may not know you like I do. In fact, just to give a more complete picture, I want to retell the story of that unforgettable occasion after a round of golf at Franklin Hills in Detroit.
Yeah, he cut my face in half.
When you made a snide comment about my game or scorekeeping,
Cheating.
knowingly
Cheating.
that
That's what it
knowingly
is.
designed to infuriate me. And boy, did you succeed, as I'm pretty sure I tried to kill you with my golf shoe.
Yeah,
After we got back to Aunt Phyllis's.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Aunt Phyllis intervened, and you were spared.
it did. That story's accurate.
Sports and brawls aside, the other thing about you that has always impressed me was your concern for others. Let's see. Now, sometimes that would get out of hand, such as your nocturnal visit to the swimming pool at Conestoga, where you had to make sure that no small animals had mistakenly fallen in when
Worried about
nobody
all
was
the
looking.
Michael's little OCD stuff.
And your liberal leanings, which sometimes would infuriate our dads, when you tried to rally the crew at Elm Storage to seek better wages and benefits.
It's true. Marty, you?
I was there.
Oh,
I never saw Sydney that angry in my entire life.
I never heard this story.
so did the strike. More powerful than UAW. In fact, Bernie Sanders would have taken lessons from you. As you've always had a strong sense of justice and been an advocate for those left behind.
Yay, Democrats.
You may be opinionated and sometimes loud, but your heart is always in the right place. One of the things I most enjoyed over the past 10 years is our frequent phone calls to discuss politics. You're definitely well read and your instincts are almost always spot on. In fact, I was really surprised when MSNBC missed the chance to replace Al Sharpton for the 6 p.m. spot. But you must have been out of town when they called. Given that he doesn't have email, you know. Right. And that's because you never forget a birthday or an occasion for a phone call, and if there's a special event, you hop on a plane and make sure the family is well represented. Your friends and family know you can be counted on. Of course, sometimes the message you bring could be toned down a little. You might remember that after you roasted me at our rehearsal dinner, my father-in-law to-be yelled, "Bail, Dory, bail!" That's true.
That's true.
That was Barney, not Michael.
That's true.
Yeah, I think it was Marty talking about
That
Michael.
was Marty, not Michael.
Fortunately,
No,
she
it
didn't
was
listen to
me
either of
talking
you.
about Charles.
So, Mike, or I should say, Brother Mike, you've reached another milestone, but one thing has never changed and never will, is that since we were kids on Pemberton, I've been in awe of your indomitable spirit, your big heart, and your devotion to family, which, as the Byrne would say, is huge.
Smoke man.
So, as I said 10 years ago, I couldn't have had a better bro, big cousin, and lifelong friend.
Lucky
Happy
Charles.
birthday, Michael. Here's to many more. Love,
Oh,
Charles.
love it.
There's so many
Nice.
things.
I know. Well,
That was awesome.
Save it, Mike. I'll
He's
put it
retired
in
now.
That was awesome.
Here, you can save it.
Keep everything together and I'll put it together.
Okay,
now.
Laura, you wanna go?
No.
Okay, Paula, you ready?
Oh.